Okay, let's continue on to student voice. So student voice, you might have heard, is not giving as much point value as it might have once did, but you're still asked to discuss it and you still want to think about how your students' voices are heard. So this is simply what opportunities you're giving in your classroom for students to be able to engage in the lesson, probably verbally. I think that's the way you want to think about it. So this might mean a number of things. It might mean that you're giving the kids a chance to restate their kid-friendly objective or their student-friendly objective. I personally think this is one of the most important ways to do student voice because you can give the kid-friendly objective without ever really knowing if they digested it. So you could tell them, yeah, repeat after me. And it might give them a chance to be able to internalize it a little bit more rather than writing on the board or reading it out loud for them. You might also ask an individual child to state what they're going to be doing in their own words. So you might give them the kid-friendly objective and then say, okay, what are we going to be doing? And then call on a child and say, yeah, okay, you're going to have me weigh some cotton balls. So this is an important way to do it. I think that restating the kid-friendly objective, personally, I think is a good way to do it. You might also have kids do some self-reflection. So think back to our cognitive development lectures and how we talked about using metacognition. Metacognition is a very, very important tool for teachers to be able to help kids solidify their learning. So student voice might involve having a child talk about what they learned out of the lesson once they're done with the lesson, talk about what they still want to know, what they have questions about. All of that stuff is metacognition. So thinking about your own thinking for the kid. Those are a couple of ways that you can incorporate student voice into the lesson. Materials and resource list is where you are going to plug in all the stuff that you need to carry out your lesson. So think about this as you write the lesson and then later you're going to look at it and you might want to do it again next year and you're going to want to know what it is that you need to gather for that day's lesson. The lesson rationale is a justification of how what you've put together, the activity that you've put together, how well it meets the outcome that you've written or your learning objective, and how well it meets the standard, and how well it really gets at student learning. So this is a time for you to sort of look at your lesson through a critical lens and say, okay, the reason why it's important to have kids restate the kid-friendly objective is because it solidifies their learning. The reason why I'm having them weigh cotton balls versus, what did I say before, rocks, peanuts, stones, something, is for them to have a tangible way of understanding the principles of weight. And I know that kids need a tangible way of understanding the principles of weight because children learn well when we use hands-on examples. Something like that really justifies what you're doing so that you are thinking about why it's important that you did it this way. You know, why did you not choose some other method? Why did you choose this method? Next are your modifications and adaptions. And when you are doing your modifications, please keep in mind that you want to think of specific ways that you could modify this lesson for students who are struggling as well as students who are excelling. So not being able to understand the lesson is just as dangerous as excelling through the lesson and not getting any learning out of it. In both scenarios, your student is not learning anything new. So you want to make sure that you are learning something new. And if that means that the challenge level needs to be modified, then that's how you need to modify it. You need to modify it up or down. And you guys are very savvy about thinking about how to capture the standard and not lose the standard when you're still making a modification. So make sure to think about specific things. One thing that doesn't count is saying, I'm going to have the kid work with a para if they don't get it. Because you are going to be in charge of educating that para and letting them know what it is that you want them to do with the child. You don't just stick a child with a para and say, here, make them learn this. No. You want them to be able to say, okay, here's a child who's struggling and I've got a couple of ideas of things I want you to try with them. Here are the ideas. And you want to list them out. Now on your lesson plan form, of course, you don't know the individual children, but this is a good chance for you to think of ideas of some modifications. And of course, for these lessons, you're not going to think of a million, but for your EdTPA lessons, you might think of a little bit more than you need because you want to make sure you've covered all your bases. Finally, the last part is section 2, and that's where you write out exactly what you're going to do in your lesson. So step 1, I might stand in front of the class and do a little direct instruction on what weight means, how we weigh and compare things. And step 2, I might have kids carry out, weighing and comparing different things. And then step 3, I might have them do this, this, and this. And then you want to put your assessment in there somewhere too. So you're going to be doing all that stuff step by step listing in section 2. So this is kind of a quick, I think it's quick, but it's 20 minutes long, a 20-minute long rundown of how to use these lesson plans later on when you're writing them for your EdTPA. Again, when you are modifying these from Box Curriculum, you're going to find a lot of this stuff might be done for you, which is great. Just make sure to put on your critical thinking cap to make sure that it all makes sense, because not all pre-planned box curriculum is equal. So there might be stuff you read in there that's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, I wouldn't have done it this way and this is not the right way. If so, change it. That's your prerogative as the teacher. Have a great day, and hopefully this is helpful.